Hey Dragon Slayers, today's video is all about Alzheimer's connection to insulin resistance, part 1. As much as we've just seen how relevant in the previous video, insulin resistance is and prominent in brain diseases, we still have much to learn about dementia specifically. The term dementia refers to a loss of memory and intellectual function that comprises daily life, compromises daily life. Various disorders qualify as dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common. We don't yet fully understand the causes and nature of Alzheimer's disease, and our corresponding inability to prevent or cure it has resulted in its rapidly becoming the most common neurological disorder, accounting for up to 80% of all dementia cases and affecting roughly 30 million people worldwide. If current trends continue, this number is expected to double every 20 years. Despite its prevalence, we still have little understanding of how to diagnose and treat, not to mention prevent the disease. In fact, our understanding is so vague that we can only diagnose it with certainty by dissecting the brain post mortem. What's becoming increasingly clear, however, is the remarkable contribution of insulin resistance to the disease. It is so relevant that it has been given rise to a new term for Alzheimer's that I mentioned before as being type 3 diabetes. Increasingly, physicians and scientists have been aware of the Alzheimer's insulin resistance connection for decades, though these early observations were thought to be because Alzheimer's patients had a relatively sedentary lifestyle. In other words, biomedical professionals thought people with Alzheimer's were developing insulin resistance because they couldn't get out and exercise. However, additional inquiry revealed that early stage Alzheimer's patients had the similar levels of physical activity and lifestyles to healthy non Alzheimer's patients, but still were more insulin resistant. With mounting evidence, the connection became harder to ignore. Alzheimer's disease is a complicated disorder that undoubtedly involves mechanisms we're not yet aware of. However, in early stages of Alzheimer's research, a general consensus formed around the idea that two main features of the disease are accumulations of plaques and tangles in the brain. In Alzheimer's, one theory goes that the brain accumulates plaques made up of amyloid beta peptide, which I'll refer to as alpha beta from here on out. Amyloids are the protein bits that the body produces normally. When they build up into clusters called plaques, they may disrupt normal brain function, including memory, mood, motor function, and learning. Because alpha beta plaques are so harmful, our brains have a built-in process that help prevent them from forming. The most prominent preventative mechanism is a apolipoprotein E, which I'll refer to as ApoE from here on out. A lipoprotein that has many functions in the body. In the brain, it carries essential cholesterol to our neurons and furthers the breakdown of alpha beta plaques when it's working correctly. There are 3 types of genes for ApoE. However, and roughly 15% of all people have a version known as ApoE4, which fails to perform this anti-plaque duty at typical levels. People with ApoE4 are roughly 10 to 30 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease by their mid-70s. Because of this, when studies have explored risk factors for getting Alzheimer's disease, having ApoE4 is usually the most significant variable. For example, a research group in Finland performed a survey of risk factors for Alzheimer's disease across a broad population. Unsurprisingly, having the ApoE4 phenotype was most highly significant variable in people with Alzheimer's disease. For those readers who care about statistical strength, the correlation was extremely high. Other statistical variables included age and education level, as well as secondary benefit of attending school, although this may largely be a function of simply keeping one's mind active and frequently challenged. After that, the next most significantly the most statistically significant variable wasn't hypertension, history of stroke, or smoking status. It was fasting insulin. That's right. Your fasting insulin carries a stronger statistical significance than your age. Remarkably, every single marker of insulin resistance in this study was statistically significant with Alzheimer's disease, including various blood glucose and insulin measurements. Well, that's what I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Part 2 is coming tomorrow. And remember, guys, that together, you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon.